this episode of Days of Pain and Victory, cleaning the carb and doing some burnouts. Alright, so I got the carburetor pulled off. We're going to try to clean it out really well, go through all the different passageways and whatnot with some carb cleaner and pipe cleaners, and try to get this thing running. So off camera I already got all these screws pulled so I could easily get to pulling this thing apart. And so there's a number of different passageways. I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm doing here. I'm just going to kind of take it apart and clean it the best I can. But each, like, here's the primaries, here's the secondaries. Each one of these things comes out, and there's different passageways in there that could potentially have some junk in them. And we also have these metering rods. My father-in-law was telling me that these should move up nice and smooth, or maybe move down. Yeah, down. And if they're gummed up in here, then that could make them not operate as smoothly. And what's been happening is it's really rough at an idle, and then after it gets kind of past that rough spot into the higher RPMs, the engine really comes alive, and so these might not be operating very smooth. Here's the accelerator pump. It actually feels pretty pliable and doesn't look too dirty, so I think it might be okay. So let's get to cleaning this thing. Alright, so now I'm going to take these metering rods out, right here on the top, and try to get those cleaned out. This is a carburetor.
What is that?
It takes the gas, you know when you go to the gas station, put gas in your car? Well, gas burns in your engine with air.
Oh.
Okay?
Oh.
And so this thing, the gas goes in here, does all kinds of crazy stuff in there, and then the air goes through this middle part. It mixes with the gas. It makes it so your engine can have power.
Oh.
In my car, this thing is dirty, and so it's not running very good.
Okay.
It's a little bit gummed up, so I don't know if it's enough to make it run bad, but I don't think it takes much to make it run bad. So I'll clean those up. Got it all cleaned up. Got it all put back together. So let's go ahead and put this thing back on the car. Alright, now that that's installed, we're going to go ahead and change the oil. Because if this thing runs better, I want to get after it a little bit. And I don't want to do that with oil that's, you know, potentially 7 years old. So you don't want to ever work under a car with just a jack. So putting jack stands underneath it just to make sure I don't get crushed under this sucker. One thing I always do when I'm changing the oil is I like to, pre-fill my filter. You can't always do that on every rig because sometimes they're attached horizontally and the oil just spills out. But on Chevy, they attach straight up to the bottom of the block. So you could fill this up like 3/4 of the way and not have to worry about it, spilling oil everywhere. I don't know if there's a ton of utility in it. It's just the way I was taught. Kind of makes sense because, though if you don't fill the filter, then there's potentially a section of your oil system that will be empty on that first startup after an oil change. So get some oil in there, kind of make sure that every part of the system's got oil in it. You're all gonna die, suckers. Oh man, it's so much more fun. The brakes are sketch. Got a little tire chirp. Steering on this thing's actually pretty tight. Back in high school, my dad and I replaced all the bushings in this whole thing, front and rear suspension, for some poly performance polyurethane bushings. Really tightened it up. Actually tightened it up so much in the rear that when I put the stage 2 shift kit in it, that hard shift actually ripped the ends of my control arms right out, so we had to reinforce those with steel. Kind of fun though. I think the Speedo still works. Alright, let's try this again. It's going to need a little bit of help, I think. Those 273 gears, nothing at that low end, Alright, so that's it for this episode. On the next few episodes, we'll be working on the brakes because these brakes are super sketch. Got 4-wheel drum brakes with no power assist. You gotta like stand on those brakes to slow down. So I got those disc brake parts from that parts car. Clean those up, try to rebuild those calipers, get everything sandblasted and painted. Also just gonna continue to clean this thing up. Gotta change the transmission fluid. Gotta shop back all the mouse poop. Clean out that trunk. I don't know if there's pizza in that old pizza box or what. So anyway, thank you for watching this video. Like always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.